Hello again, welcome back to Cybersecurity in the Ancient World. This is episode number 6. When thinking of communication security systems, we often think of computer systems, banks, and secret services like the FBI and CIA. Yet, the ancient Greeks and Romans knew everything about hiding their secrets and securing confidential information too. In this series of 10 videos, we will discuss 10 examples of secret communication in the Greco-Roman world from the 8th century BCE to the 4th century CE. We will see the Spartans and Caesar go into war. But also cipher codes, invisible ink, love letters, and ultimately someone who is carrying his own death sentence without knowing. When and why did the Greeks and Romans use secret communication? And what secrets did they hide from their enemies? We will see this and much more in this series. So welcome to Cybersecurity in the Ancient World. This is episode number 6, Greek fire signaling, based on the works of Aeneas Tacticus and Polybius. In this 6th episode, we will take another look at Aeneas Tacticus, who we saw in the previous episode, and then we move on to Polybius. Aeneas Tacticus was one of the earliest Greek writers on the art of war, and he is credited as the first author to provide a complete guide to securing military communications, known as How to Survive Under Siege. This work is written in the mid-4th century BCE. According to Aelian and Polybius, Aeneas wrote a number of other treatises on the subject as well. And Polybius also described Aeneas' design of a hydraulic semaphore system, the system we will see in this episode. And then we have our second source for today's episode, Polybius. Polybius was a Greek historian who lived from about 200 to 118 BCE. He is noted for his work, The Histories. Polybius was taken as a hostage to Rome after the Roman victory in the Third Macedonian War, and there he began to write an account of the rise of Rome to a great power. Here we see Polybius' Histories, a work describing the rise of the Roman Republic as a global power in the ancient Mediterranean world from about 264 to 164 BCE. Polybius is important for his analysis of the mixed constitution, or the separation of powers in government, for his in-depth discussion of checks and balances to limit power, and his introduction of the people. He influenced Montesquieu, John Locke, and the framers of the US Constitution, among others. Polybius' histories were originally written in 40 volumes. Only the first 5 of these volumes are extant in their entirety. The bulk of the work has passed down to us through collections of excerpts kept in libraries in the Byzantine Empire. For his work, Polybius was primarily concerned with the 53 years in which ancient Rome became a dominant world power. This period, from 220 to 167 BCE, saw Rome subjugate Carthage and gained control over Hellenistic Greece. Books 1 through 5 cover the affairs of important states at the time, like Ptolemaic Egypt, Hellenistic Greece, and Macedonia, and the work deals extensively with the First and Second Punic Wars. So, what did Ennius and Polybius tell us about fire signaling? Let's have a look. From accounts of Near Eastern, Greek, and Roman history, starting in the Archaic Greek period, we know that normal, that is non-encrypted, and simple encoded messages could be sent over long distances by means of fire signaling. This is discussed in a wide range of classical sources. As it was only possible to send one prearranged message using the very archaic system of fire signaling, communicating parties needed to communicate on urgent matters faced significant limitations. Ennius Tacticus accordingly invented a method for fire signaling in which water clocks and torches were used. By using the method, a series of messages could be sent back and forth between distant mountain tops by using water clocks and torches. Here we see what this looked like. Both parties would fill large vessels of the same size with a cork at the bottom with water. Then they would take a rod graduated in sections, each section clearly marked off from the next. In each section, there would be written the most evident and ordinary events that occurred in war, like the enemy is approaching with ships from the west. And a rod was then placed into the vessel, as we see in this reconstruction. When the two parties then wanted to send messages, they would first wave torches to attract each other's attention. Then they would pull out the corks from the vessel to let the water run out. In this way, the rods in the vessels would sink. When the intended message on the rod had reached the top of the vessel, the sending party would wave the torch again to let the receiving party know that they had to pull the cork back into the vessel and then check the intended message on the rod. If all worked well, the receiving party could then read the exact intended message. There were two significant downsides to Ennius' method. First, it would have been extremely difficult to let the two water clocks run exactly parallel. And what is more, with this method, it remains the case that only a series of pre-arranged messages could be transferred between the communicating parties. And therefore Polybius decided to improve upon Ennius' method by developing a method that was more sophisticated. With Polybius' system, it was possible to send any kind of message with accuracy. Thus, Polybius describes how he takes 5 tablets, and on these tablets he wrote all the 24 letters of the ancient Greek alphabet, from alpha to omega. He also took 2 sets of 5 torches. The dispatcher of a message would then raise the first set of torches on the left, indicating which tablet was to be consulted, and then raise the second set of torches on the right to indicate what letter on the tablet the receiver should write down. And this raising of the torches could be done by hand or by using a panel, as we see in this reconstruction, with a left and a right side instead of a left and a right hand. Say, for example, the Greek letter beta, which is B in English, would be one torch in the left hand, or one torch on the left side of the panel, and then two torches on the right side or on the right side of the panel to indicate one had to use tablet number 1, the first torch, and then letter number 2 on the tablet, the second torch. Like Ennius Tacticus, Polybius still uses torches, but he replaces the water clocks with tablets on which all the letters of the Greek alphabet are written. One could then send messages letter by letter, whereby each fire signal represented one letter. Although Polybius' method was still extremely laborious, it was clearly a significant improvement over Ennius Tacticus' method, since in Polybius' method, no water clocks were involved that had to run parallel. And what is more, when using Polybius' system, every possible alphabetic message could be sent between the communicating parties, instead of only a series of pre-arranged messages, as we saw in Ennius' method. Ennius and Polybius do not tell us what kind of messages, secret and non-secret, were sent and when they were sent. Yet, we know from many classical sources that fire signaling systems were commonly known and were often used, mainly in a context of warfare. In fact, Ennius' system has been described as the earliest form of telegraphy used in the world, and as the most sophisticated system for sending secret messages discussed by Polybius. It is suggested by the 2nd century CE author Polyaenus that the Carthaginians used a similar method successfully. Polyaenus implies that by sending secret fire signals, the Carthaginians were always provided in the most rapid way with what they needed in their warfare. Experiments in archaeology carried out by Woolscroft in 2001 have shown the Carthaginian system to be feasible, and therefore potentially also Ennius' system as reconstructed by Polybius. Although at first, doubts were raised as to whether the ancient Greeks and Romans would have had the engineering skills to build and use such a signaling system, Woolscroft has showed the potential and usefulness of ancient fire signaling. So, to summarize and conclude for today, last time we saw some of Ennius Tacticus' methods to hide messages during sieges. These methods were used for short-distance communication in and out of a besieged city. Today, we have seen his method for long-distance communication, namely the use of fire signaling to send secret messages in times of war. We have also seen Polybius' improvements to Ennius' system. With water clocks and torches, Ennius has invented a system to send a series of prearranged messages that often occurred in warfare. This method is seen as the earliest form of telegraphy in the world. Yet, as we saw, the method has two downsides. It would have been extremely difficult to let the two water clocks run exactly parallel. And still, one could only send pre-arranged messages instead of any message. Polybius, therefore, decided to improve Ennius' system. He used torches and letters on writing tablets, and with Polybius' method, every possible message could be sent. Yet it was still very laborious. As we've seen in the previous episodes, we cannot know what kind of secret messages were sent and when. Yet, as we have also seen, it is theoretically plausible that the systems were used for secret messaging in warfare, and we have seen that ancient systems have developed into modern systems, whether or not they were actually used in antiquity. Ennius' system developed into Polybius' system, and Polybius' system in turn formed the basis for the Polybius square. The Polybius square is a modern method for secret communication that has certainly been used in warfare, in this case in World War II. Thank you again for watching. What do you think of this episode? Do you want to know more about Ennius and Polybius? Or about ancient fire signaling? Or do you want to share anything else? Then please feel free to contact me for any comments, suggestions, etc. And do you want to know more about communication security in ancient Greece and Rome? Then stay tuned for episode number 7 on Roman fire signaling. Thank you again for watching. See you next time and have a good day. Bye.